Hello, everybody, and welcome to this very special gold medal episode of Korn Ferry Live. Today, we're diving into a unique battle where corporate titans go for gold, where boardroom strategies are as fierce as a fencing match, and where the spirit of the Olympic inspires us all to reach new heights of innovation and teamwork. So buckle up, because we're about to witness a showdown where the principles of perseverance, discipline, and excellence that defines the Olympic Games are put to the test in the business world. Yes, if you haven't guessed it by now, today's conversation is Olympics themed. Why, I hear you ask? Well, if you haven't noticed, or you've been living under a rock, the Summer Games is well underway. Plus, my two very special guests today have both competed in the Olympics themselves before joining us here at our behalf, lovely Korn Ferry. They'll be sharing how they apply their sporting experiences to business challenges like leadership development, workforce planning, and culture transformation. So before I introduce my guests, don't forget about using the chat. When was the last time you had a chance to put a real Olympian through their paces? Get your questions in early. There's no such thing as a false start here. And to get you warmed up, here's a question for all of you out there. Which people-centric business challenges do you think are most relatable to a world-class athlete's winning mindset? Get those in the chat. We'll read a few later. So without further ado, let the games begin and may the best athlete win. As always, I'm your host, Darren Bolton, Chief Creative Officer here at Korn Ferry. And today, in the red, white and blue of Great Britain, we have Mark Richardson, Korn Ferry Senior Client Partner for Culture, Leadership and Top Team Performance. And taking him on head-to-head in orange, representing the Netherlands, we have Sjoerd Hamburger, Korn Ferry Senior Principal for Organisational Strategy and Change Management. Welcome to you both.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much. Great to be here.
And I hope you've both got your game faces on today, because we will be putting a bit of a challenge and putting you through the ringer, I hope. So just to really get everyone warmed up and to understand a little bit more about you, maybe you could just give a quick intro about your sporting achievements for our viewers, just to set the scene. So Sjoerd, would you like to go first?
Happy to go, yeah. Sjoerd Hamburger, I've been rowing professionally for over a decade. I've retired in 2013. I rowed over 10 world championships, European champion on the York, under 23 champion, rowed the Olympics twice, once in the one-person boat, the single, once in the largest boat, the 8, the Cox 8, in Beijing and London.
Fantastic. And Mark?
So I'm Olympic silver medalist from Atlanta, 1996, where I won this medal with the 4x400 meter relay team. Fantastic experience. Been to a couple of Olympic Games. Also, uniquely, I'm the only European athlete to have beaten the great Michael Johnson, so the former world record holder over the 400 meters. So
showing off already. We like this.
I'm trying not to.
I feel very insignificant in your company, both of you. Before we get going, I just wanted, lots of us have been watching the Olympics. Obviously, you've been working very hard, so you've probably only seen a few clips on the news. But I just wondered, was there any highlights of the games so far you've seen? Who wants to go first?
I'm just back from Paris, and I spent a lot of time on the Rome course, and I've seen some thrilling races. The women's 4 was absolutely amazing. But personally, outside of rowing, I loved the Dutch winning the 3x3 basketball. I mean, to get to a buzzer beater against France, and then in overtime to put in the final second do it. Yeah, that was amazing.
All those French dreams.
Yeah, that helps.
And Mark?
Yeah, for me, I'm going to stick with my sport, actually. So athletics, the men's 1500 meters, just what a drama that unfolded in that race. So you had the two main protagonists so preoccupied with each other that they left the door open for Carl Hocker to come through. And I was going to say steal the gold, but he didn't steal it. He earned it. It was raced to perfection. And it just shows that you've got to be, you've got to have your wits about you. You've got to be focused all the way to the very end.
Yeah. I think mine was, thanks for asking, the French trio winning the gold, silver and bronze in the BMX racing. I mean, the crowd was going crazy. The riders going crazy. That was electric. And another one was the Swedish pole vaulter breaking that Olympic record. Yeah. Because you hear the cheers around the ground when you're watching other sports thinking, oh, my God. But I
But I
think
mean,
one of the
talking about performance, I mean, to win it, and
yeah
then to say without the pressure to go for a world record and
yeah
pull it off. I mean,
yeah
that is it. It doesn't get much better than that.
exactly.
I mean, Duplantis was absolutely insane again. Yeah,
Apparently, he's been told these days that he's only supposed to beat it by 5 centimeters each time, because
one
then next time
centimeter.
you can beat it again. Next time you can
Yeah,
beat
yeah.
it
Exactly
again.
that. Exactly
Because
that.
I started to
But I
beat
mean,
it by bigger chunks at one point. But anyway, that's quite interesting.
yeah.
Oh, love it. And I also love the skateboarders, the women especially. I mean, as athletes, they generally seem so happy to be there and to be able to show off and show what their sport is capable of. It doesn't feel like a competition. It's like a celebration, a festival, and the support they give for each other genuinely looks like they love each other so much and they just want each other to do so well. So anyway, there's so many. I could go on forever, and I'll be told off for talking about sport too much. So I'll shut up. So let's get down to business. So Mark, let's start off with you, if I may. How did we're looking for those connections between obviously your experiences and the business world, of course. And so, how did setting big goals help you in training for the Olympic Games, and how can we apply that to the world of work, the world of business?
Yeah, for sure. So there's something quite extraordinary about being an Olympian. So I was doing a tiny bit of research, and apparently there's only 100,000 of us. So if you start to think about what are the odds of becoming an Olympian, it's something like 1 in 500,000, so which is just mind-boggling. And I think to be able to translate that kind of big, hairy, audacious dream that we had to enable that, there's something about having a really compelling direction of travel, something that's so awe-inspiring, that keeps you fixated, that keeps you obsessed, that keeps you motivated, that's completely self-determined. And I think that is just so important, because if you're able to create something like that, it gives you the natural fuel that you need for that intrinsic motivation to keep you with a high level of persistence, dedication, and resolve to do the very best that you can to achieve your goals. So what my big learning is how do you create that sense of meaning and connection and affinity for the people that you're working with or the people that you're leading, so that they have that sense of identification with the higher order goal, which keeps them moving forward in a relentless way.
Sure. Stuart, do you have a take on that?
Well, it's funny because the first question is like, what do you want to achieve? Because I vividly remember I rode for 2 years, nothing too special, ended up in the under 23 Worlds, was great. And I knew that winter my coach would ask, what do you want to achieve? And I didn't think, what do I want to achieve? What would be the correct answer? So I just thought, the correct answer got to be gold in the Olympics. So I didn't think about anything else. It's like the answer got to be, I want to have a gold. So I came in, I said, look, I want to have a gold. And I thought I totally impressed them because that was the right answer. And they didn't move at all. And they said, oh, that's fine. All right, that's a great goal. So tomorrow you got to call the head coach, you got to change your training, you got to double your output, you got to put your academic work on hold. The whole list. And I was like, oh, whoa, I haven't thought about any of that.
You should have said bronze.
Probably. But so I really had to oh God, a goal is one thing, but how do you get there? So it really was sort of, you also got to train to how to get to a big goal. But I mean, in hindsight, it's so funny to come in thinking you've got the right answer. It's not about the right answer. It's about yourself and about the journey and how to get there. So yeah, that was definitely funny in hindsight. But the intermediate step to get to a big goal really need to be there. Otherwise, it just continues to be sort of like a dream output. So they said after 1 year, you got to be here. After 2 years, you got to be there. After 3 years, you got to be there. And constantly adjust to make sure you're steering in the right direction.
Sure. And question for you, both of you really, but is there a skill that was most transferable from where you were to where you are today? And are there any skills that just don't transfer at all?
I've got to say, I've taken so many rich lessons from, I guess, my experience of being a sports person, trying to compete at the highest level. So I guess some of the almost super skills that I'd say that I forged in the cauldron of the Olympics or World Championships were things like the ability to reframe, the ability to set goals, discipline. So having that sense of commitment and resilience towards whatever it is that you're endeavoring for, trying to achieve. Another one is, how do you appropriately kind of attribute your successes and failures? So there's something about really, really being circumspect with yourself in terms of what are the things that have been foundational to you doing well. And actually, when you need to look in the mirror and think about the things that haven't gone as you need them to, and how you can recalibrate, refocus, and recommit so that you can get back onto that winning pathway, whatever winning looks like for you at your level, because it's not just about winning, it's about personal best performance as well.
Yeah. Nice. We do have a question that's come into our chat, so I'm going to ask the team to put that question on the screen if they may. It's from Kathy. Interested to hear what the speakers think of that. Should you put a limit on your goals that you know you can smash just for the sake of beating them each time? Ooh. Making it easy for yourself. What do you think about
that one? Well, yes and no. But I mean, it'd be in a training. So if I'd say like I can do a 1500 in X time, I was like, I know I can do it. But can I do it twice or 3 times with only 5-minute rest? So I said like, well, I can do this. So if I'd be rowing, for example, I had to go 20K. After 10K, in my mind, I would all ask myself, I can definitely do this again. And it's the which doesn't make sense because you'd be much more tired after you passed halfway. But it's constantly the mind game. Oh, I've done this before, I must be able to do it again. I did 1500, but now I'm doing it 5 times. So I was mainly also fooling myself. But if the question is, do you ever set goals that you know easy to achieve? It doesn't feel like a goal because I've already met that goal. So I could definitely make it as a self motivating thing. You've got this, you've done this before, that kind of way.
Yeah, there is something very powerful about having a successful kind of success cycle. And so chalking up those wins is something that fills you with confidence and self-belief. But to the point that's just been made, there is something about how do you create that level of stretch? So you take this back to the Olympic domain. You know, if I think about the men's 400 meters, Matt Hudson-Smith ran 43:44, a European record, and he got the silver medal. Yeah. He has gone beyond the boundaries of what any other athlete has done in the kind of representing Team GB. And unless you're stretching and pushing yourself to the utmost limits, you're not going to get the best out of yourself. So it's how do you get that balance of kind of, I guess, high challenge so that you're thriving but stretching as well as building that confidence feels really, really important.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so I think a lot of our viewers would love to know how you actually build a winning team, but also can you talk us through how we turn it into a smart workforce planning effort as well? So yes, there's the sport part of it, but how do you take that through to our everyday business process, I suppose? So Stuart, would you like to kick that one off for us?
They're twofold. So there are 2 answers, and I talked to our CEO Gary Burnson about this as well. It's like in rowing, you sort of like, if you want to build a team, the fastest team possible for yourself, you got to aim to be the worst in the boat, which is counterintuitive. But if all the others are faster, but you still deserve a space in the boat, you've got the best possible team around you. You got to make sure you're not like outside of the boat because you found even more people. So the main thing is, if you want to have a winning team, you try to be the worst, or at least you better set. I mean, that it's find even better people around you, right? And don't try to be the best in the team necessarily. Might happen, but it's about building a winning team. And so that was a really important one to realize. And the other ones, I did that in Oxford, where I wrote for the Oxford University Boat Club. We had people from all around the world, different background, different training, everything. We really sat down without a boat, just talking, who are you? Who am I? How can you rely on me? How does it work? And there are people like realizing some people are really motivated by a gold medal, and others are motivated by crossing the line first, which sounds the same, but it's wildly different in how they experience it and how they want to move after passing the finish line. It's absolute, to me, was mind-blowing, because the guys who did it all for the shiny object, sort of like, we need to give them space to just take off their shirt and walk around with that big medal and just be, and that is how they got through the hard training. And others says like, I don't care about the medal, I don't care about the ceremony, all I want is be the first to cross the finish line. And they are motivated by a vastly different set of values, if you will. So getting to know each other and then play on each other's strength, absolutely key.
So sure, you're saying that some athletes, it's all about the medal and they almost carry it everywhere they go, every opportunity. Mark, you would happen to have your medal anywhere, would you?
What, you mean this one?
Oh, there you go. There you go. That's all
There we go.
perfect timing. I can't believe he set you up there. That's not very team spirited, sure, I must say. Mark, you got any thoughts on that, and in particular about the business side of it and how we take some of those learnings and implement them?
Yeah, for sure. So if we think about it, if you want to build a top team with it needs to be a small group of people. They need to have complementary skills. They need to be aligned and kind of have their sights set on a common mutual higher order goal. That feels really, really important. There needs to be shared accountability across that group. And you need to give them the freedom to be able to bring them best selves to work. So I think the environment that the leader creates for them is absolutely critical. How do you create an environment for success? And then how do you get to that deep level of understanding so that you really have that sense of awareness across the team, that shared mental model, so that they have that situational awareness? And I guess another factor to think about is how do you create that sense of collective resilience across the team? Because it won't always go their way. There'll be times where they meet adversity. There'll be times where they have to overcome roadblocks or challenges, and being able to, I guess, create that performance adjustment, be able to address a downward spiral and get that into an upturn is really, really important. So that's the whole piece about the magic that's created when you've got a high performing team and they have that sense of mutual affinity and mutual engagement.
Yeah.
I really like what's said there, but I think I also like what drives you individually, because the assumption many times is we're all trying to be the best team or meet a KPI or whatever, but what does drive the individual, and how does that make us a collective success? Because some people are I'm doing it for the KPI because I know there's a bonus at the end. Or someone is, I like to create an amazing product and I just like the product and I can't care about anything else. There could be amazing team members and partners, but you need to talk about it together to make sure how do we motivate each other when you work on the same goal with a different attitude or different needs.
Yeah, that's good. I think that kind of blends into this next question, which is, I've often heard when you see different sports documentaries and things like that to be a successful athlete or sports person, you have to a degree, be quite selfish. It's very much about you and, the diet and or the training, and it's, you've got to stick to it and you've got to be quite selfish to succeed. So when you become, and the fact that you've all rode or run individually, but also as a team, when you become a team, how does that selfishness, I don't know what to call it, transfer or evolve? And how important, we know it's important, but how important is collaboration for winning, I suppose? So Mark, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, but for any team to be successful, that you've got to think about all of the support and the supportive network and infrastructure that sits behind them that enables that success. So you've got to think about them, the team doctors, the medics, the coaches, there's a whole raft of people who are enabling performance. And so I guess really tapping into those feels really, really important. There's also, how do you create that sense of shared identity? So really interesting chemistry that develops in track and field, because most of the time you're competing against my teammates. In the individual event, you're trying to beat them at all costs, obviously operating within the rules of the sport. But then every couple of times a year, you need to come together and think and operate like a team. And to Sjoerd's point, you've got to have different types and qualities of conversations. You've got to understand each other's traits, each other's drivers, the things that, what has led you to this point, and what would it mean for you to realize that ambition in terms of, I guess, winning that medal. So those were the types of conversations that we had on the eve of the Olympic final way back when in Atlanta in 1996. So collaboration is everything, because what you want to do is create that effect where you're getting a multiplier effect from all the different parts that are connected and make up the composition of that team.
Yeah. Sure.
Oh, I agree. No, collaboration there's no winning when you don't collaborate, and that starts with getting to know each other and then make sure all the pieces are aligned. And so I very much agree with what Mark said there. It's just perhaps a bit different for rowing, because if you're rowing in a team, there's no individual distance, so it will always be a team. So the dynamics are different, but it's still, you basically are with 12 people trying to get into an 8-person boat, so people will have to lose out on their hopes and dreams. So it's getting to know each other without losing sight of your own goals. Very important.
I heard somewhere, I don't know if it's cycling, I think it might have been cycling, that the actual coaching teams and the physio teams were also not drinking alcohol during the process. They were doing a number of things that made them feel closer to the athletes they were coaching. So it really felt there was this bond, and we were doing this together, which I thought was quite interesting. So we do
different things, because sometimes the coach is an outside support, a very important but not part of the team, and sometimes he or she is part of the team, and it really depends on the dynamic, on how the teamwork plays out. So but I would not have made any difference to me if the coach would have a beer every once in a while, right? So it depends on the team and on the coach and on the teamwork.
Yeah. We have another question, I believe, so if we can get that on the screen. So, question: as a leader, should you tolerate someone who is a brilliant performer but with worse behaviour? If you let such a person, how do you compensate the performance gap within the team? This is a really interesting one, because even I've come across this, where you've got some superstars, but they don't behave the same as everyone else. So who wants to take that one on?
I'll give it a stab. So,
not really mentioning any names, of course. Smart.
Yeah, really interesting question. So, there is something about the values and the climate that you want within that team, and how do you create the conditions where they are self-sustaining, where the team can self-regulate, and they're healthy and high functioning. And a brilliant performer who thinks from their own personal lens and has a behavior that has a ripple effect that's a negative to the team, well, they're not a team player. It's not going to enhance team performance. And so it feels like there needs to be a conversation that's had that either holds the mirror up and helps to address that through feedback, and/or you've got to think about the composition of the team, because what that will do is destabilize performance, and it will actually create this kind of hangover of, hang on, so that individual is allowed to behave in this way when we're saying that we value this, and it just starts to unravel everything, I think, that potentially you're looking to build and optimize within a team. So a difficult dynamic to work through.
I mean, reading this, it all depends on the circumstances. So does the brilliant performer even realize he or she shows up with worse behavior or negative behavior? Because if someone says, like, I get away with it because of my bad, or because of my brilliant performance is vastly different than someone's like, oh, we don't want to touch him or her because brilliant, but right. So all those things really come into play. But if ultimately the overall team is going down because of this, it's a no-brainer. You should do something. But I find it hard to see a situation where you should not address it, because bad behavior is bad behavior, and that just doesn't look right.
Sure. I think we've got one more question. Oh, as if by magic. How do you build acceptance that not everyone can win? Michael Johnson was so insightful on the different reactions of Just Kerr versus Mountain Smith after each won silver. Former seemed quicker to accept, as he'd convinced that possible outcome.
I mean, the main currency of track and field is medals. So any Olympic sport is medals. Everyone has the deep-seated desire, I think, of getting onto the podium. Yeah, but it's not only about that. So one of the tools that I found really useful was to think about goals in a slightly different way. So think about the outcome that you're striving for, but also think about your performance goals and your process goals. And if you start to think about those processes and those performance goals, it means that you're in control, and that actually, if you're striving for personal best performance and you realize that, but don't get onto the podium, there's nothing more that anyone could ask of you from that. So it's not always about the outcome. It's about how well you execute your performance plan that I think is really, really important. That's something that I absolutely share with my kids, thinking about my colleagues and teammates. Control the controllables is all that you can ever do, and execute your plan. Do that to the best of your capabilities.
I agree. I agree with everything Mark said. The only thing is, it's also an individual difference. Some just take it, have more difficulty accepting the outcome if it's not perfect, right? And there should also be room everywhere for the individual to get to the point where they can accept. And you can definitely prepare yourself better for outcomes. But also, like, some people just take longer to realize what happened or to get the adrenaline down, or right. So it's prep is everything, but also, like, individuals behave different situations.
I love that answer, because there's something about letting the emotions drain away. So for both of those athletes, what they'll do when the adrenaline's gone, when the dopamine's gone, when the emotional charge has been released, they will reflect on those races and they'll think about what they did well, but also think about what they can improve, even though they might be in different places with the level of acceptance or satisfaction with the outcomes. And then that will steel them to be able to drive and deliver even better performance going forwards.
We have pretty much run out of time, but I do want to get this question in because I think it's quite an interesting one, an important one. So as an athlete, it's impossible, you've already talked about it, it's impossible to be successful all the time. So how did you bounce back from setbacks? But more importantly, what tips do you have for leaders to keep their teams resilient and able to adapt when needed? So Stuart, do you want to go for that one?
I want a bit bigger perspective, because a lot of former athletes that I talk to, medalists or people who've achieved whatever they've achieved, they tend to be, if you don't talk to them, they tend to be negative about whatever they've achieved. I've only achieved a bronze. Someone said, I've only became a national champion 5 times, and I've only, went to the student championships twice. I was like, do you hear what you're saying? Right? This is not a setback. If it's over, be really proud, because it will never get better. This is it. And what you've done is amazing, and really, really cherish that. If a setback, you only look back, if I only got silver or bronze or 5th or 10th or whatever, it's like, you've made it to the Worlds or the final or the whatever local charity run. You got there and you've done the best you could. Try again next time, but be proud of what you've done, and don't think everything is a setback. It's part of a bigger path.
Sure. Right.
I love that answer.
Yeah.
Just a tiny quick build on that. I think that just staying true and reconnecting with your higher order goal, whatever that is. So why is it that you're doing and embarking on the endeavor that you started on? So what is that inspirational, personal dream, vision that you're going after, and reconnect with that? Establishing and I guess fortifying that sense of why, that sense of meaning, is the thing that can help you to overcome adversity, help you get back and bounce back from setbacks.
Absolutely. Well, we are definitely out of time, or we'll be very, very quickly. So that's absolutely amazing. I've loved the session today. I hope the viewers have as well. The inspiration for us all there off the stories and the insights have been fantastic. And you could easily go on for hours and hours. I'm sure there's many, many more stories you've got, but that is it for today. So thank you very much for your time, and let's hope to see you again soon.
Thank you very much for having me.
Cheers.
Bye.
So thanks for watching today. Hope that has inspired you and given you some ideas to put into action within your own organisation. I just want to leave you with these final thoughts from our CEO, Gary Burnison, in a recent piece he wrote called In This Boat Together, which also features comments from Stuart. He says that if you want to understand how to crack the code, potential and opportunity, we have to ask ourselves these 5 things. 1, do we know our purpose, and are we communicating it clearly? 2, do we set an example by living the mission and vision of the organisation? 3, are we connecting teams and enabling everyone to shine? 4, do we give people the space to thrive? And finally, are we motivating everyone to give their best? Have a think about that after. And if you're looking for the secret to unleash the potential of your teams, leads, and entire organisation, we actually have a formula for that. We call it the potential code. So click on the link in the chat, and that will take you right there. So that's it for today. Until next time, goodbye.